Hello, and welcome to the Transition Attainment Record, or TAR training for the 2024-2025 school year. My name is Krista Mullins from the Office of Assessment and Accountability. Our agenda for the training can be seen here. We'll take a look at the administration guide, standards assessed, a deeper look at the TAR, test security, timelines, administration of the TAR, and completing the TAR. On this slide, you will find a link to the Transition Attainment Record, or TAR, Administration Guide. Please open or download the Administration Guide for today's training. It is also found on the Kentucky Alternate Assessment Resources page. Many quiz questions will come from the Administration Guide, so it is critical to have access to it. Let's look at the standards assessed. Like last year, there is one version of the TAR written to the current Kentucky academic standards and alternate assessment targets. Beginning with the 2025-2026 school year, the new science alternate assessment targets will be assessed on the TAR. Let's take a closer look at the Transition Attainment Record, or TAR. The TAR is a rating scale or checklist where the Admissions and Release Committee or Individual Education Program or IEP team observes the student, takes a body of student work, and assesses specified content using the checklist. The student interview is used to help guide transition planning. This rating will be used to represent the academic portion of post-secondary readiness at the high school level. The TAR is required to be administered at grade 11. The purpose is for it to be administered in place of the ACT for students on Kentucky's alternate assessment. Just like the ACT, the TAR assesses students in ELA, math, and science. The items on the TAR are linked to grade level content standards. The benchmarks for the TAR are a 16 in ELA, 13 in mathematics, and 16 in science at all grade levels. If a student does not meet benchmark in any content area, mathematics, ELA, or science at grade 11, that student can retake that content area at grade 12 or 14. The benchmarks are the same at all grade levels. For a student in grade 14 to participate in the TAR administration, they cannot have a graduation code applied. Any student who participates in the TAR at grade 12 or 14 must first be registered in the Student Registration Database, or SRD, by the DAC, DOS, or someone with district-level access. The DAC, DOS, or district-level administrator should contact DACinfo at dacinfo@education.ky.gov and ask to have the grade 12 or 14 TAR opened for score entry in the SRD. Test security is vital and extremely important. Please take note that while the TAR is not a standard multiple choice assessment, it is still a state assessment and as a result is considered secure testing material. It is okay to know the concepts and teach the concepts that are on the TAR. However, it is never okay to reproduce the TAR for use inside the classroom to prepare students for the assessment, to share test items with anyone not involved in the administration of the TAR, or to use specific test items from the TAR with students during instruction. The TAR administration training opens on Monday, September 30th and closes on December 20th. The TAR administration window opens on Monday, September 30th and will remain open until May 23rd, 2025. This training and the quiz must be completed before administering the TAR, and all scores need to be submitted no later than May 30th, 2025. This is a firm deadline. To access the TAR, you will need to log into the Online Training System, or OTS, and go to the Transition Attainment Records tab under Teacher Tools. Now we will transition into what administering the TAR will look like. The TAR administration is conducted by the student's instructional team, which includes personnel familiar with the student and the student's work. The team may include the student's special education teacher, general education teachers from collaborative classrooms, related service providers, and paraprofessionals. Paraprofessionals can provide information but may not score the TAR assessment. One certified lead team member will be responsible for entering the scores in the SRD. However, because the TAR is a state assessment, all team members participating must complete the administration code training and the inclusion of special populations training. The lead team member must complete the online training for the TAR in the OTS and must pass the quiz with a score of 80% or higher. Together, the team should review all the content standards assessed and the sources of documentation of the student's work. The scoring of the TAR is done by the ARC team associated with the student. The team should work together to determine scores on each item. KDE and UK have provided guidance in the TAR Administration Guide on how to reach consensus. When team members cannot reach consensus on a rating, the lowest rating considered must be used for scoring purposes. Complete the student interview, then proceed with the assessment. The team as a group must respond to every item. If there is no source of data for student performance on an item, the team must design an assessment item per the directions in the TAR Administration Guide on pages 9 and 10. Review the TAR assessment to ensure that all items are completed. The TAR form has a column where the lead team member will indicate the source of documentation for the student's work performance. The sources of documentation include the student's individual learning plan, or ILP, the student working folder, such as a due process folder, classroom working folder, etc., or other sources of documentation may be noted in the space provided. It may be noted as well that there is no existing documentation and an assessment item has been designed. Student performance ratings should be established by the team with a common understanding of the items, the standards the items are assessing, and the scale on how the items will be scored. It is important that all accommodations are followed for the TAR, so providing a means for the student to use his or her modality of communication to demonstrate skills is vital. This can be pointing, eye gaze boards, or any number of communication devices. The item rating scale for the TAR is a simple 3-point scale. 0 is used when the student is unable to perform the skill being assessed. 1 is used when a student is moving toward competency with a skill but needs to be prompted during performance to do so. 2 is used when a student can independently and accurately complete the skill being assessed without the need of prompting. There is further information about the rating scale in the TAR Administration Guide on pages 8 and 9. Now we will look at an example of each rating. On this slide, you will see an example of a 2 rating, which is the highest rating available on the TAR. Item: the student is able to identify the central idea of a text. Observation: the student independently scored an 80% or higher on his classwork sample for the Reading Standard and Individualized Education Program, or IEP, monitoring. Rating: 2. Documentation: IEP monitoring folder or the student working folder. This item would be rated a 2 because the student demonstrates the skill independently at 80% or higher. On this slide, you will see an example of a 1 rating on the TAR. Item: the student is able to identify the scale of a given graph or data display. Observation: IEP data shows that the student could do this, but only with verbal prompting. Rating: 1. Documentation: student working folder. This item is rated as a 1 because the student requires prompting. On this slide, you will see an example of a 0 rating on the TAR. Item: the student understands that a sailboat is powered by the wind in order to move forward. Observation: no previous observation had been made, so the team created an assessment activity. The assessment showed a boat on a lake with the question about what makes it move. The student was given 3 answer choices. The student did not answer the item correctly even when given prompts. Rating: 0. Documentation: student working folder. This item is rated a 0 because the student did not demonstrate the skill even with prompts. So, what are the next steps? A quick review of what we covered and what is expected of you as you move forward to administer the TAR. Number 1, you should review the TAR administration guide completely. Number 2, once you have reviewed the guide and this training, you should complete the quiz and receive your certification. Number 3, complete the administration code 703 KAR 5:080 training required before administering any state assessment. Number 4, complete the inclusion of special population 703 KAR 5:070 training, also required before administering any state assessment. Number 5, you will need to download the TAR document, which is under Teacher Tools in the OTS. Number 6, the team should complete the student interview next. Number 7, the team convenes and rates the items for the TAR. Number 8, during and upon completion, TAR documentation should be stored with other secure testing materials. As a reminder, the TAR is open for administration from September 30th to May 23rd, 2025. When completing the TAR document, make sure all team members are listed. All members administering the TAR must complete the training in the OTS by December 20th. There is a firm deadline of May 30th, 2025 for score entry into the Student Registration Database, or SRD. There is a link on this page for the Online Training System, or OTS, where you will access the TAR quiz to complete your certification. This concludes the TAR training. Please click the link on the previous slide to take the quiz. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at 502-564-4394 or at krista.mullins@education.ky.gov. Thank you for your time and all that you do for our students.